recording. Hello everyone, today we're going to be getting this guide. Let me raise the audio a little, there we go. So I'm going to be showing you all the moves Undertale has, and I'll give you my recommendations for playing them. Starting off, they have the Force Attack, works usually the way you would expect it. They have a Bone Zone, which does mediocre damage if you can actually hit it. An important note is it will miss people who aren't moving. Next you have Bones. They do apparently about 3 to 4 damage, pretty weak. A blaster, if someone just stands in it, will deal roughly 20 damage. And now for their new move, it's this. Now again, it'll miss people who aren't moving. And this is a Bone Zone on everyone. And if someone's moving in a straight line, they'll just walk out of this. In fact, I think it might deal less damage than the normal Bone Zone, making it a pretty ineffective attack. All in all, I would rank Undertale here in F tier. You're better off just getting your first few wins as a Chara, or using a Roblox character for your first few games. For our next character, we have Science Sands. Starting off, they have their typical little Bone Rush attack, where they shoot bones. Then, they can also just launch a bunch of robots. These will deal a bunch of AoE hits that actually kind of hurt. Then here, we have these beams. They come from the back. They're going to either be blue or orange. Blue means don't move, orange means do move. They don't deal much damage. Of course, you have the typical force attack. And now here, the blasters are pretty deadly. In fact, there, it killed them so quick that I'm going to have to do that again. So continuing on with this, then of course Science Sands has their new move, where they throw this little flask. It does a modest amount of damage. It's not too impressive, especially because you can't throw it near you. You have to throw it a good distance. You might notice that despite the fact I'm not using anything, I'm still firing shots. That's because at Upgrade 2, Science Sands also gets the random bots from the 5th attack for free. So using these on top of the ones that are already spawning just means extra attacks. Now, let's move on to the next character. Alright, so for our next character, we have Sands. Now, Sands, fairly basic character. He has the Force. He has the Bone Zone. He has the little Bone Rush. Does much more damage. All these do much more damage than Undertale. His blasters, again, they actually hurt a little. And now, for the last attack, you have a bigger blaster. Try not to die to this. There you go. Now, when Sands is out of stamina, for the first time, let me quickly run out. Alright, I'm nearly out of stamina now. Let me burn up the rest. So when Sands runs out of stamina, he loses his new move, which is that giant blaster, but all of his attacks get upgraded. His Bone Zone pops up multiple times. His force attack, I believe, is normal, might be a little stronger, but I don't think it is. The blasters all focus on one spot with two of them. And the bones, I think, they might be in a bigger quantity or faster, but that's about it. Now, when Sands completely runs out of stamina... Oh, one thing I nearly forgot to mention. Sands is actually, he loses stamina regen in this phase. While he still gains stamina 2 a second while not moving, he loses 1 stamina a second, which means he's constantly drained. And if you're not careful, you're going to run out. Now, when Sands finally runs out of stamina, this happens. His final special little move. First of all, bones that deal a fair amount of damage are going to come out of the side. Sands is going to appear in the air, and then 2 giant blasters just fire at the edge. Unfortunately, I did not successfully kill my foe, so now this is where they just kind of kill me. So here we go, we have Underfall. Underfall is actually basically identical to regular Sands with a couple of differences. For one, damage is actually mildly greater. Not by too much, but there is an actual difference in Phase 2. Let me quickly run out of stamina. As you can see, it looks like I'm actually running out of stamina pretty quickly. So, when I use my blasters here, 3 happen instead of 2. That's the only big difference, really. It looks like I might get 1 less Bone Zone, but pretty mild. Now, when I run out of stamina, you're going to see final attack still there. Nothing really special, just more damage. I shoot blasters at the player while this is happening. Unfortunately, my opponent survived, so I'm dead. It's Underswap Papyrus time. So first of all, their orange soul. 1, this is going to make enemies jump. Now 2, you might not notice it, it's a bit subtle, but when the player moves, they actually, for the rest of the match, are slower. So in this case, you might notice if I let's quickly walk next to each other in a straight line. It's like this. I'm actually slightly faster. Very subtle, but I am actually faster now that I've used my orange soul, and that applies to all players. Next, for the 4th move, I have a little spinning bone. Pretty weak, doesn't do much damage. Next we have the bone wave. This can actually hurt a bit, as you can see, not much though. I have a blaster. Again, pretty mild, but here's the new move. That's right, spinning bones. Pretty underwhelming. They hurt a little, but you can tell all these moves don't really do much. And before I forget, I would probably place this character in D tier, along with regular Sans. Underfall would probably have the luxury of being in C tier with Science. And with that, we can move on to the next character. Alright. Next up, we have Outertail. Starting off with Outertail, we have this little star here. When it falls, you're going to notice that these attacks are going to start doing some serious damage. Next, the Force. This one's actually notable because it's stronger than usual. Then I can launch a bunch of stars at my enemy. These are actually pretty good for attrition. They deal a bit of damage. And then we have the Triple Blaster. Someone who gets hit right by those is going to die in seconds, so it's key to avoid them. Now for Outertail's new move, stars, you're going to click on a spot, and 2 stars are going to spin around that spot, shooting stars right at the center of it. Usually people will use it as a defensive move. I can highlight it right here. Give the game a moment, I need to regenerate stamina. That way no one can properly approach you without being hit by damage. Usually this will be comboed with a couple other attacks, just to make it much harder to actually approach. I would probably put Outertail on the higher end of C tier. Alright, here we go. We now have Disbelief Papyrus. Starting off, we have this attack similar to Science Sans. Shoot a bone, randomly orange or blue. For 4, you might notice that I just swing a little bone. This one can hurt a little, but as you can see, they just dodged it by standing still, so its hit detection isn't too reliable. Now, I just used something, but you notice that it doesn't do anything. Go ahead and try to hit me. That didn't work. Okay, I'm not gonna be able... So anyway, putting that move aside, I also have a spinning bone. Does moderate damage if you can land it. And of course some blasters. These hurt a little. Let me get that spin right on them. But you might want to actually dodge these. Here you go. So, what's supposed to happen when I use this 3rd move is that when I get hit, I'm going to nullify the attack, lose some stamina, and throw them back, just like that. So it's like a really weak force. Unfortunately, as you can see, despite the fact my opponent has been standing in place for all my attacks, they're actually pretty healthy. That's mainly because Disbelief here is probably about D tier. But I have a feeling the next character will be a bit stronger. Alright, so, I nearly forgot to mention, Dust and Disbelief are a couple of the characters on the roster that have a mechanic called Health. In Disbelief's case, they can't move and they run out of stamina. They don't actually die until they run out of health, which they lose according to the weapon that they're facing. For example, the weapon I'm facing right now, the Golden Pan, would normally deal 100 damage. Dust is one of the few characters of health that actually won't lose health first. So once they run out of stamina, they have a fun little gimmick. But I'll quickly show you their moves. Starting off, Standard Force. Then they have a Bone Zone, and all these moves actually can hurt a bit. Like, if you just see a direct hit from my blaster here, that actually is a bit of damage. Not the highest by any stretch of the word, but now, once you actually manage to run out of stamina, which might take you a while, just a little more. I have 9 stamina. Come on, we can do this. There we go. Once you run out of stamina, you're going to gain basically infinite stamina, being 999. But your health bar is currently vulnerable, as you can see. This 100 damage weapon can now just immediately half my health. So you're incredibly vulnerable at this point. And you have to hope that you can hold them back while they try to kill you with your infinite stamina. I personally recommend for this character to just kind of roll your face on the keyboard and use everything, hoping you can stop them. Unfortunately, I would have died by now if they were actually trying to kill me there, as they got close enough to just kind of end my life. But you're going to notice that most of these characters have a very similar playstyle, with the exception of course, Undertale, which I would say is one of the few characters that I've listed here that actually has a unique playstyle and can potentially win. All these characters earlier, including I would say even Science Sands, have a lot of difficulty against higher tier stuff, though Science Sands does have the damage to pull one off. As a result, I'm unfortunately going to have to put Dusttail probably in D tier purely because characters of upgrades are currently surpassing them. Now we have TS Papyrus over here. Now TS currently doesn't actually have a new move despite having upgrades, so I'm going to show you what they can do. For their first move, they can shoot spinning bones on both sides starting those 2 locations. They deal mild damage. Then, coming from this particular wall, you'll have bones that will focus on particular players, just going down the line that they're on. Now, for the special attack, you can do an orange soul that doesn't permanently slow, it still forces them to jump, while shooting bones in the air, with the aim of kind of trying to trick them. You can also make a bone zone, and overall, TS is actually kind of a bland character. They don't have a real way to kill people immediately. They're kind of attrition based, except their damage is so mild that stuff like Golden Pan here can kind of just annihilate you. Anyway, oh, and before I forget, I would put TS Papyrus probably in the middle of C tier, simply because if they're not facing someone with top tier stuff, they might be able to kill a couple people. But even winning is still going to be difficult. You know what? Probably D tier, to be honest. I would actually say that every character in C tier is much better than TS. Now, Undertale is another character with a health bar. This time, though, they can't dodge. And let me quickly show you their moves. So, first off, from the 2 corners here in the back, they can fire axes. These will actually hurt a fair amount, as you can see right there. They already lost about half of their health from taking 2 axes. Let's say each axe is about a quarter of health. For my 4, I have a rage, which will not only make me faster, but it'll make my 3, my melee weapon, deal extra damage. Normally, this is like a spoon. You're just hitting them with a spoon. But when you rage, oh, it hurts. Now this move will actually probably kill them if they just stand in it. It's my little spike wave. It does one of the highest amounts of damage in the game. But Horror actually has 2 high damage attacks. Their new move here is also, you probably should try to survive. You can. Okay. And they managed to survive here. Now, the best way to play Undertale would actually, funnily enough, be to just walk over in one of these 2 corners and basically just start firing your axes at people. Whenever someone gets close, you just kind of do this, and they're probably all dead for getting too close to you. Now, something special happens when Horrortail runs out of health. Could you please show that to us? Any second now. There you go. Also, one thing I forgot to note. Horrortail's rage deals a bit of damage to him. Now, once you get to a low enough health, everything's going to go dark. You're going to get a permanent rage, which is going to cause you to lose about 3 health a second, it appears. During this time, you can go for the kill, but because you're starting out pretty low, it's going to be fairly easy for someone to get you. Another thing to note is that none of your enemies can actually jump during this time. So now it's a point where both of us are pretty close to death, but of course he's running Golden Pan, meaning he has healing. But I managed to barely secure a kill before running out of health. One last note for Horrortail is of course that Horrortail would be somewhere in the B tier. Probably in the... Alright, for the next character, we have a bit of a unique one, being Aftertale. Now first let me quickly showcase what they can do. They have one of the strongest force attacks in the game. They have an extra big bone zone. Of course, it doesn't go as high. A huge bone rush. And then 5 blasters that focus on one spot. As you can see, that's actually absolutely devastating. They nearly died there. But for Aftertale's new move, you can do something a bit special. That's right, you can teleport across the entire Judgment Hall, making it so you can basically never die. But now, how would I recommend playing this Aftertale character? Well, if I can get it right, you just throw people into your blasters, mix that in with some bone rushes that you just kind of launch at people. Oh, what? Did I? Oh, I used the wrong thing there. There we go. You can actually kill someone in just one combo there, making Aftertale a solid B tier character against people who don't have high mobility. Alright, so Revenge here. Absolutely terrifying in terms of damage, although a good player can usually avoid everything. Starting off with their Bone Spin, as you can see here, it doesn't actually deal any damage. That's because currently there's a bug that makes your FL not triggered. But normally, someone would actually take a fair amount of damage. Now right here, I can't stress this enough, this is absolutely devastating. I killed them in less than a second. So just to assume, these two moves I'm going to show you, the Blaster and this Bomb, basically one-shots. Well, it actually wasn't a one-shot, so I guess the Blasters are the most one-shotty. Now, for this next move, just a bunch of bones. They still hurt, but for the last move, we have the new one. Now, unfortunately, the person I'm playing with is on mobile, but how this would normally work is that when they suddenly gets used on them, they'd be frozen, they'd have to jump up, and then jump back down. Usually people would combo that with a blaster, that way you have to dodge it midair. And yeah, all in all, I'd have to actually put Revenge in the B tier with the rest of the characters. With the rest of the top characters. Story Shift. This character right here, they can deal a lot of damage when fully upgraded. They also have some interesting moves. Whoops, I started the new move right off the bat. I didn't mean to do that. Really easy to dodge that. It's way too slow. It might deal damage if it ever hits, but it won't. Now, for the first attack, I'm going to be showcasing the star. That did a solid 20 damage. The knives, which are basically like the Bone Rush, just knives. This blaster can actually hurt a bit. And now this move deals even more damage than the blaster. This is actually about as strong as Revenge's blaster. That could actually just kind of kill someone in about a second. But when Story Shift, one thing to know about Story Shift right here, you notice that they aren't actually regenerating stamina. That's because they don't have stamina regen in Phase 1. But when they run out of that stamina, they go into phase 2. First things first, you'll notice I have 500 health. That's right, I can no longer dodge. And also, all of my moves get upgraded, with the exception of those, the new move doesn't. So for example, my stars, I get 3 of them now. They fall pretty quickly. The slash, it's bigger now. The knives, they're super fast now. And the blaster shoots stars, and I think it might be bigger, although that could be wrong. All in all, Story Shift is a solid... I'm kind of conflicted. I would prefer to put them at the top of C tier, simply because I find the B tier characters are far more reliable. If I go ahead and just start launching attacks here, they'll probably avoid all of them. Let's go ahead and see. Story Shift's another character that strives to just sit in the corner, basically. As if someone's trying to avoid stuff, they're just gonna run out of stamina. They are, however, very easy to play, so if you're somehow still new to the game after getting 225 wins, you might like them. Now we have Killer Sans, the character with the most attacks out of anyone, I believe. For their first move, they have a knife. If I just quickly stab them, I do lose a bit of stamina, I believe. Not too much, but it's a nice amount of damage. Oh, I don't lose stamina for knifing anymore. That's neat. Next, I have a Bone Rush. Really fast, and these actually hurt. For my third, I launched 3 of these little slashes, and again, they really hurt. I have a Void I can spawn around myself. It's going to slow me down, and I'll deal a modest, tiny bit of damage. And now, I get 2 of these per round. I get to shoot these giant blasters with about a 10-second cooldown. They technically can kill people, but they aren't good at that. I mainly use them to zone people off. Now, for 7, you have a 2-second warning there before you dash. If you hit someone, you deal about 19 damage. Ideally, you combo that with your knife, just kind of dash at someone and stab them. Doesn't really work too well. Now, for this move, Homicide, you're going to notice it's not doing anything. That's because I have too much stamina. I actually need to have less stamina to use this move. So let me quickly drain that. I do kind of need help because Killer has so much stamina. They start with 225. Okay, I'm nearly low enough. Just a little more needs to be lost. So Homicide, no matter where the enemies are, you'll hit all of them instantly. Now as you can see, let's see how much damage that did. That did nearly, what? That did 38, I think? 38. That is insane. 38 to all enemies. And if you combo that with just kind of cornering someone, being real close to them, you can probably kill them. As you can see, Killer is no slouch. They actually are another character who can just kind of sit in the corner and not die. And fun fact, they're probably one of the few characters that can deal with multiple determination souls at once. I would say that Horror would be another character to be good at it. Putting Killer in B tier, possibly low A tier. If I put Killer in A, I'd also probably bring Horror up to A. But we're not done with the rosters, because I did all the characters in there. Doesn't mean I have no characters left. It's 6 Bones time. Now 6 Bones, starting off, has a giant blaster. It does a bit of damage. I can click on a spot, a bunch of bones will go to it. They don't do much. I can summon a bunch of bone zones. Again, these are all difficult to land attacks with. I can fire bone shots at them, kind of like TS's special attack. Those are probably your best way to hurt people, basically while they're chasing you. And now here, this little attack, Summon Everyman. It used to be useful, now it's just kind of... yeah. Maybe if I spawn it there? Yeah, it's kind of just an inanimate object now. It chases after several seconds and then immediately disappears. 6 bones is one of the characters that has health. Interestingly enough, they lose stamina and health every time they get hit, meaning they have 2 resources which are constantly in danger. Though it looks like I'm only losing about 2 or 3 stamina whenever I get hit, so it's not too bad. However, I would probably rank 6 bones in either D or F tier, simply because currently they are far too weak. Don't worry though, I heard a rework's coming up for 6 bones. And now for our last character, at least on the Sans team, because unfortunately, I don't exactly have Santa Sans and Ulk fan. Here we go. Starting off, I can click on a spot, and a bunch of bones will be launched to it, being white and blue bones. These kind of underwhelming. Next, on both of these sides I can launch bones. These will usually deal about 30-40 damage. And then I can summon a bone shield. First of all, this will push people away, although currently people can walk in here and just kind of kill you. Fun fact, these are actually currently indestructible, meaning I have to wait until these despawn to actually get out. But you can use this if someone tries to get in here to actually trap them. Now, Blueberry's strongest attack would be this move, although difficult to land. If someone walks through it, they just kind of lose a huge chunk of health. Although Blueberry has a ton of stamina and a mild bit of health, overall they're pretty weak. But I would recommend purchasing Blueberry if you're willing to spend the money, just so you don't have to play Littletail Sans. Overall, I'd probably rank Blueberry in probably D tier. If someone Golden Pan just kind of AFKs in the center, Blueberry's gonna have immense difficulty hurting them. And while I might not have Santa Sans, it looks like the person I'm doing this with has them. So, could you please show us their moves?
Alright, so Santa Sans has a Bone Rush, which is pretty normal, but it gives an effect that's similar to KR. It does the same thing as KR, but it will slow your movements. So if I hit you with something right now, much.
Absolutely. Just a cold effect.
Bone Zone's third blaster, just one colored, but same thing. But the really unique attack is Present Rush. So these red presents will rain from the ceiling of the hall and deal a really fairly big chunk.
Yep, that one did about 10.
I'm pretty sure they used to do a lot more.
Yeah, they used to do like 30 each.
Of course. How much else to Santa Sans? Pretty basic. Really good if you use them right.
Yeah, Santa Sans is essentially a pre-alpha update Sans. In other words, they just don't get other phases, but they have similar moves. So if you're curious how Underfall Sans used to be, this is basically him, of course, not considering the slow effect and presence. Anyway, now I've gone through those, I'll start actually covering some other things. Those other things being the souls. Alright, so starting off, I'll be showcasing Bravery. Now I'm running a fairly average weapon. This normally does 99 damage, but Bravery not only increases your speed, but it increases your damage. Let's see here. That went from 99 to being... oh. That's supposed to go up. It appears my damage isn't actually increasing. So Bravery is not functional right now. which is unfortunate. But yes, this is supposed to increase my damage. Alright, so now for the next soul I'll be highlighting, it's going to be the Kindness soul. So I'm actually going to let the time run a bit, that way I actually get some healing items. Essentially, Kindness gives you healing items, I believe, every 30 seconds. So yeah, that's why I'm going to cut. So, Kindness soul will have 4 results you can actually receive, being Crab Apple, Monster Candy, Potato Chips, and CT. Starting off CT, you gain 5 health, and you gain a actually really nice speed boost. Next, with Monster Candy, I'm going to go from 47 health, 57, it's 10 health heal. Potato Chips, 57 to 70, so 13 health heal. 70 to 88, so an 18 health heal for Crab Apple. Now, one thing I'm going to show you really quick with this weapon. When I use it, they're going to take 22 damage. Pretty mediocre, if I'm going to be honest. The reason I'm going to showcase that to you is because for our next soul, we'll be covering one that'll actually raise that. Alright, so for our next soul, we're covering Justice. Now, Justice, pretty interesting. First of all, it's going to increase my range damage. If you recall, this did 22 last time. Oh.
And it's still 32.
It appears Justice and Bravery's extra damage are currently not functional. That's regrettable. Well, what Justice can do if I quickly die, this will only happen after the last one alive. I come back with 50% of my health, and now I can try a second time to win, although Trident's pretty weak, so I die immediately. Alright, this time I'm running a new soul. You might notice I'm moving pretty quickly. That's because I'm using Integrity. So with Integrity, I just kind of zoom around the map, but of course that means I'm not getting any heals or from souls that provide extra damage. Use this extra speed, I can actually avoid a lot of attacks that might be coming at me. However, that's pretty difficult to avoid. It's one of the strongest moves in the game, along with Homicide. Oh, 1 health? Come on. And I'm down. And now this time, we're going to be doing something a bit different. You see, this soul, Determination, in my opinion, is the best soul. And if I die just right off the bat, you're going to see how it works. When you die, you immediately come back to life with full health. And because Justice currently doesn't give extra range damage, this means it's outright better than Justice. The issue is that in order to get Determination, you have to beat Chara, the Chara fight in single player. And I'll have a link in the description and probably in the comment section if you're interested in that. I just have a full guide on it. Watch it and you might be able to beat the fight. But with that said, let's move on to weapons. Alright, so here are all the weapons. Now, all these weapons before this axe, don't, only use if you have no choice. Now, this axe, I'm going to start by covering it because despite the fact I never run it, it does have a unique effect. So, if I just press R here, I'm going to gain a nice little speed boost. It appears to not actually give me too much speed, but it's there. Lasts for 5 seconds. I certainly don't like the weapon though. If I hit, it actually has decent damage. I think that was 120? Yeah, this does 120. So this is actually decent damage-wise, although not the best damage-wise. Alright, for our next weapon, and the strongest damage-wise, we have Killer's Knife. Now this doesn't just give a ton of damage though. Let me just quickly show you. I'm gonna just dash. Every time you strike, you dash. If you're in the air when you do it, you also dash through the air. And now let's see how much damage this does. 150. With Bravery, this is raised to 172, when it works, of course. Which means in just 2 hits, I've already taken off 300. It would take approximately 7 hits for me to kill this horror. And near the end of that, they would of course be in their little dark area I highlighted earlier. And let's wrap this one up. So, next up here, I'll be covering this golden pant. Now, you need to have 1,000 or more wins and give them all up to use this. So, pretty hefty cost, but let's quickly see if it's worth it. So, first of all, when holding the golden pant, you're going to gain 2 health a second. That's right, 2 health every second. So I just took a ton of damage, but now each second plus 2 health. And damage-wise, a full 100. Now, I should note that all these weapons can only be used if you are running the U model, which I'll show in just a moment. So as you can see, there are a bunch of models here. I was using this one. This is the only way you can actually run weapons. Otherwise, use your default weapon that you're given. Now, normally you can select your souls with these, but when you have them fully upgraded, you're actually forced to use the Determination Soul. So let me show you what these can do. Starting off with the regular Undertale Chara, I can launch a bunch of knives, kind of like Story Shift. I can launch a slash. Quick note, you can only use these if you've beaten single player Chara. Again, description and comments. You get a dash, functions the same way as Killer's Knife. I can place this little save point here, and if I use this a second time within 30 seconds, I teleport to it. The weapon I have, let's see, they have 937. They went to 838, so this does 99 damage. Pretty good if I do say so myself. And of course when I die, I'll come back with my full 99 health. So now here, we have Underswap Frisk. Now, while previously you had Undertale Chara, kind of just with a save point to save them from danger, with this swap, you swap locations with Sans. This can kill you, and also ruin Sans. Here's a little trick that I've seen a lot of people do, and of course you still have your dash and 99 damage slash. So first I'm going to stand in one place, use my zone and rain, and I'm going to swap places with Sans. Doesn't do that much damage, it's mainly for characters who dodge, as it'll just drain their stamina. I have a 99 damage slash, and that's basically it. I come back after I die, I have this lovely swap. The issue of the swap is that if Sans is currently inside of an attack, you are going to take a ton of damage. Let me quickly get this off cooldown, I'll show you what I mean. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Quickly throw down that, walk in it. Yeah, if I swap here... Oh, I'm already dead. Of course I have Determination, so I'll come back once. But you get the picture. Outertail. In my opinion, the best model to choose out of all of them. Starting off, you press spacebar, you're jumping real high. Next, you launch 2 slashes just like that. They do about 20 each. You get a dash. And now, Sans, can you hold spacebar? Now, watch this. With gravity times 100, Sans can no longer jump. And with using low gravity, you suddenly move faster and jump even higher. Which, interestingly, can let you do some nonsense. The knife will deal 120 damage, making it pretty dangerous if I do say so myself. And because you have Determination, which will bring you back, you're actually a pretty big threat. The lesser version of these models each have their own benefits, although I would still rank Outertail above Underswap and regular Chara, or Frisk I suppose, before the upgrade. One thing to note, of course, is that does mean that the default U with the Killer's Knife and whatnot would technically be better than all these until you upgrade them. And now here we have the most threatening of all models, Underfall Frisk. So starting off, you have so much power that you're limited to a mere 20 health. You don't get a default soul besides kindness, and you get this stick. Now watch this. You do 10 damage, right? Oh no, 15. That's incredible. With 15 damage, that means if I hit them 10 times, they'll take 150. So if I do that 20 times, it'll be 300. So 60 hits will deal 900. Meaning I need to hit them more than 60 times in 180 seconds to kill them. So as you can see, I'm whittling them down. They stand no chance against my stick, and as long as they don't click on me, I'm in no danger at all. Yeah, oh, whoops, they clicked on me. So as you can see, never use Underfall Frisk. The default model has 92 health, and it's as the same cost as Underfall Frisk. No reason to actually use it. Please don't. And yeah, you've now gotten to see every single Sans, all the fully upgraded models and top tier weapons, all the souls. And I didn't cover these weapons because they simply aren't viable. You might be able to use them, but you would have a far better choice in one of the higher tier weapons. So I hope this guide was useful. I hope at least one of you got something out of this. I mean, look, we're already 40 minutes into this. And yeah, that's actually it. If you did find this guide useful, please say so in the comments. If you feel like I didn't cover something that might be important, then go ahead and point that out to me. But until then, I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching.